I wanna walk like you and talk like you. My kids are watching The Jungle Book in the other room right now, and I love that fucking song. All right, Flight 7500. This is for Peter Benavente. You guys have heard that name about 600 times, and he actually just requested 5 more movies on top of the ones he already had requested, so you're going to get a lot of motherfucking one of these. But as I always try to tell people, because people keep requesting movies too, and it's like, I'm not trying to be some greedy dick or anything like that, but Peter pays for each individual review, and he pays a good amount for every one of them. So, and he just keeps asking for them, and when you're throwing that much money towards each review, it's like, fuck, man. How am I going to say no, and how am I going to, bump him off the list? But I am getting to my patron reviews, like people who are paying for the reviews. I do get to those as fast as possible. I got to that Silence of the Lambs one very quick, even though the audio was fucked up, and that was my fault because I pressed the wrong button on the fucking microphone. I'm still mad about that, and I get comments like, "Man, you'd have so many more subs if you had had good audio." And I'm like, I have good audio in every fucking video I do, just not that one. Welcome to the channel. Anyway, all right. I thought this was very ironic that when I was watching this movie, the first character that we see on the screen, played by Leslie Bibb, or was it Jamie Chung's character? Either one. I think it's Jamie Chung's character. Anyway, it doesn't matter. One of the first characters that comes on the screen was like, oh man, it was Jamie Chung. I only got 3 hours of sleep. I'm going on 3 hours of sleep right now. And when I was watching this movie, I had been going on 3 hours of sleep. It was very weird because I was talking about it all day. I was like, man, I'm just so tired. I only got 3 hours of sleep last night. And then she comes in. It's like the first fucking line of the movie. Like, fucking, I only got 3 hours of sleep last night. I thought I was hallucinating. I thought I was on flight 7,500. I got plenty of sleep last night. I should not be stuttering. Okay, first thing first. I want to talk about how many babes are in this movie. Holy shit. There are so many beautiful women. This movie is crazy. Even like background actresses. Like people who, stand-ins, extras, whatever. Like everybody, almost all, not everybody, but mostly everybody in the background and whatnot were like these really pretty ladies. I was like, damn, man, some good-looking scenery. I want to be on that flight. But you got Leslie Bibb, you got Jamie Chung, as I said. You got Amy Smart, you got Scout Taylor Compton, who's like this punky, gothy, hot-ass chick in this movie. Hell yeah, man, I love Scout, and I wish we got to see more of her. And I like that she's sticking to horror, but I'm assuming, like most actors and actresses, they don't like getting typecasted and they want to act outside of the genre, so they try not to take too many roles. But I think that ship has sailed for Scout, and she's kind of just, a scream queen at this point. She's just gonna maybe have to stick it out for a while until maybe she has another break. I don't know. I don't really see Scout in anything but horror these days. But I really like her. And I think she's hot, and I think she's a cool actress, and, I always like seeing her, so. But she's hot as hell in this. And then you got Rosita from The Walking Dead, who looks pretty damn young in this movie. She's much hotter in The Walking Dead, but she's still a good-looking girl. She just looks pretty damn young, so. Not super, super attracted to her, but she's still, pretty girl. And then there's a bunch of other babes in the movie as well. All right, so there's some fake scares in this movie. Okay, here's the thing. Let's get this out of the way up front. This is a horror movie, obviously, right? This film succeeds in almost every place except for its horror. That's my gripe with the film. I think all the horror in this movie... Now, I will say this. This has an Asian director. I think he's Japanese. Maybe. Whatever. But it feels very J-horror. It feels very Japanese horror in its horror elements. And if you guys know my channel, you know I don't like Japanese horror, for the most part. It has a very similar feeling to it. It has very similar setups, the way that characters move, this and that. The stories, the way they unfold, whatnot. Japanese horror is kind of paint by numbers. But every genre, subgenre is kind of like that. And I've always said before that if there is a subgenre or a genre of something that you don't like, it all sounds the same to you. It all feels the same to you. It all looks the same to you. But if it's something you do like, and you're paying attention to the subtleties of things. Like if you hate heavy metal music, it all sounds exactly the same to you. If you hate rap, it all sounds the same. But if you love metal, you hear those differences that make you make you hear it as individual songs. They're like, this doesn't sound anything like the other one. And then when you kind of like step back and you listen to it again from like other ears, and you kind of take out your love for like these little individual subtleties, then you start to be like, oh, I guess I could understand how that all sounds the same. Like Rage Against the Machine songs, the way they kind of build and the way they go into that, kind of stuff. They do sound very similar when you step away from them. But like as a fan of it, you listen, you're like, fuck yeah, I love this shit. I don't care. Like I see the difference between Killing in the Name of and freaking Testify and all these songs. You're like, I get that their setups are very similar. But you notice that. So I think with J-horror, it's just one of those things where I don't like it for the most part. So when it comes to most of them, I'm just like turned off immediately. Like, oh, this horror just doesn't do anything for me. And this film feels very J-horror. So all the horror in it, when it gets to the horror stuff, I'm just not into it. I think it's very lame, very cheap, very unoriginal, very uninspired. But ignoring the horror aspects, this is a horror movie review, so it's kind of hard to do that, but I'm still going to do it because I do think that the rest of this film is pretty damn good. It's really well shot. I really like the dramatic bits. I really like the character development from most of the characters. Like, I think there's a lot of good stuff going on in here. Now, what does that all amount to? I think it just amounts to good drama. I think it amounts to getting involved with characters and making them seem realistic. You've got a woman who's played by Jamie Chung, and she is doubting her potential marriage to this man. She has her doubts. Then you have Leslie Bibb's character, who has an affair with the pilot, and he's gonna, he says he's gonna leave his wife. Let me tell you something right now. I've dated married women before. I'm not proud of it. I'm not sitting here to brag. Trust me, I can assure you I'm not. I'm fucking ashamed of myself for doing so. But I always did it under the pretenses of that their marriage was terrible, as I was told, and that they were leaving any day now. Oh, we sleep in separate bedrooms, and, oh, we barely even talk anymore, and he knows that I'm out with you, whatever. Whatever the fuck they're telling you, they're 99% lying. I want to say 100% so you don't go, well, mine might be the 1%. Fuck that. It's 100% they're fucking lying to you, okay? Don't talk to them until they're A, divorced, or B, obviously separated, where they live in their own house. They're gone from that person. They don't see that person anymore except for to maybe exchange the kids or, in court if they're dealing with a divorce, whatever. Custody, doesn't matter. But if they're still living together and they're still married and like you have to be kept a secret otherwise, they're lying. You're never getting that person. You're never going to work out. And if you do work out, you really want to work out with someone who could be talking to somebody else in a year or two. Oh, she wouldn't do it to me though. We're actually in love. There's very, very few circumstances where this is true. It's very, very few, and it's extremely extenuating circumstances. It's usually extremely abusive relationships they can't get out of for whatever reason, whatever. But for the most part, trust me, I've been there. Don't do it. And Leslie Bibb has to come to that realization in this. Towards the end, she confronts him. You're not going to ever leave your wife, and I know it. And he kind of gives her that look like, oh, what do you mean? He knows it to be true. And you can see that look in his eyes, and that's good acting from both of them. So yeah, that's good. Then you've got the couple played by Amy Smart and the guy, I've seen him before, I don't know what his name is. But they've broken up, and they don't want to tell their friends that they are going on vacation with them because they don't want to ruin the vacation, and they don't want to turn down a non-refundable 3-week vacation in Japan. They're heading obviously to Japan, so I would assume the director's got to be Japanese. His name looks Japanese. And because they're going to Japan and because the horror elements in this are very J-horror, it just makes sense. Now somebody's going to tell me that he's fucking South Korean or, from Thailand or something insane. I'm going to be like, wait, what? That'd be crazy. But I pretty much bet my entire government pension on it. Blair Witch 2 reference. It's no, doesn't matter. I always want to say that though. Sheriff Craven. I love that guy, man. I love that guy. I don't know why. Fuck off. No one's home. But yeah, and then you've got so you got their kind of dynamic going on there where and he's such a great guy. But then we find out, and there's more character development here, and it gets a little deeper into their story, that they've lost multiple babies in miscarriages, or who knows, maybe it was stillbirths, we don't know. But it has ruined their relationship. They still love each other very much, but they can't. I don't know what it is, but she maybe feels like she's a failure to him. You know, because they kind of get into it a little bit, but they do address that babies were lost and that she couldn't take a third one, and that all they ever wanted was to just have a family together, raise kids together in a home, settle down, this and that, and that's fucking sad. And it builds that development between them. Now, some horror fans, just as I've said before, don't like character development. This is always bizarre to me, and I'll never understand that, but they do exist, and that kind of character development might be lost on them, and they'll find it boring, and it's like, come on, let's get to the killing, let's get to the scares, and it's like, how are you going to be scared, and how are you going to care about what's going on if you don't give a shit about these characters, and they don't feel semi-realistic to you. But that's nor here nor there. I do think they do a very good job of setting up these characters. Now, they do almost zero job of setting up the character that brings the death doll on board, which, of course, is what stems this whole thing. Now, this is the second time I've seen this movie. I was paying as close of attention as I could to it in the moment, but I don't feel like we get very little from him. He says something, maybe on the phone. He's saying something about, like, he's kind of a dick on the phone. I can't really remember what he's talking about, but I don't really know much about this guy. I don't know why he's dying. I don't know why he's spitting up blood. I think they try to do this head fake that it's going to be a zombie movie. Then I think they do this head fake or it's going to be a ghost movie. And I have to say, even though the horror the horror elements aren't exactly executed the way I personally would like them to be, I do think the ending, the twist, is really cool. I think it's a really super cool twist. I just wish that it was attached to a better setup to its reveal. I think the horror elements could have played out better to service the overall conclusion, twist. And it's a shame to me because this movie's kind of just, passed over. It's not a film that's genuinely liked or disliked. It's kind of just that was alright. That's basically the general consensus that I see. And I do understand why that's the general consensus. Because this had potential. It had a good crew on it. The film looks great. It has good actors. It's got great character development. It's got thought out characters. Like, everybody kind of has their own roles. They play their own part in this. You've got, you've got the thief. You've got the girl who's got she's pregnant. There's a lot of people who are worried about the future, and I think that's another good element about this movie, is that there's a lot of worry. There's a lot of things that are going on in this movie, and I guess the finality of death kind of washes over some of them, as to where they just fully kind of just accept their fates. But others, and I think that's a cool part about Scout Taylor Compton's character, is that in this, she's the goth, weird punk chick who, is edgy and touches the dead body and plays with his blood and thinks it's cool that he's dead, and then, takes off her seatbelt when there's turbulence, and kind of seems to have a death wish and doesn't really seem to care about living or dying. And usually the way that goes in these movies is that once something actually happens, they're the first to be like, I don't want to die. And they're like, oh, it was all a big act, Kind of reminds me of Dead Man on Campus, when they're trying to find the guy to kill himself, and then there's like that emo guy they get, and then he walks in them on the bathroom. He's like in the stall or something, and the guy's in there like singing show tunes. It's all a big act that he's like depressed and unhappy, and he's like actually like super stoked. Maybe he took fucking the drug from Brain Candy. Kids in the Hall Brain Candy. Man, if you haven't seen that movie, do yourself a favor. It's fucking so funny. Although I'm sure today it would be seen as super offensive, and every one of the kids in the hall would be canceled or some bullshit. Even with recent shit that's happening, Robert Downey Jr. is being called to be canceled now. What a fucking joke. People have no sense of humor anymore. Rob Lowe, man, or C. Thomas Howell, sorry. C. Thomas Howell, man, your fucking days are numbered, bro. That Soul Man movie's gonna come back to bite you. I guess if he was still relevant, if he was still making shit, if he was like in an Avengers movie, oh my god, could you imagine what Soul Man would do to his career now? Jesus Christ, people are such fucking pussies. I like that the girl who's taking the pregnancy test has a smiley face or a frowny face for when she's pregnant. They don't really make ones like that. They're always lines, man. You don't put a smiley. Like, you know how many people are taking those tests and are not happy? Maybe those do exist, but that's fucked up. There's so many people who take those things worried out of their mind. They don't want to see a happy face. Their frowny face is their happy face, and their happy face is their frowny face. So I just can't imagine them being so bold to put a fucking smiley face, to be so presumptuous that someone would actually, like, everybody's going to be happy that they're pregnant. And our main guy here who's married, or dating, married. Are they married? Probably married. To Amy Smart in this. This dude's a genuine hero. Like, we find out that he is a paramedic, and man, this guy goes to every length to save these people. So really cool stuff. And then they lose cabin pressure. So now what the fuck happens to this guy that makes him die? And then the devil doll is what death doll is what's on board, and that doll is about an attachment. So what I'm assuming is that this guy dies of some illness, something happens to him, just kind of spontaneous. This is something random. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe somebody has an explanation and I just completely missed it. That happens a little more often than I'd like it to. But so he just dies, and then he can't let things go, so his vengeful spirit fucks the ship up, and in that the plane loses cabin pressure, and there is a bunch of people on board that kind of have unresolved issues, like Leslie Bibb and all the characters that we pay attention to kind of have these unresolved issues. They all have things that they don't want to let go of. This girl thinks she's pregnant. This girl's got a relationship with this guy. You know, these are all people that feel like this purpose. You got the brand new married couple with the fucking stuck up bitch who constantly keeps complaining and is like people watching and talking shit, and you know, the kind of woman that you immediately regret marrying, as this guy does. But yeah, I mean, and then Scout kind of gives this guy a new look on life of like, you know, why can't you live like this? He went to business school and he's like kind of regrets some of his decisions and he wishes he was more like her. So it's all these people who just want to hold on to something and they can't let go. And so when it's revealed in the end that they've all been dead this whole time and they're the only ones left that are really there with them because they have these unresolved issues. Even though there's other people on there, it's more focused on them. And then when they see it, it's just them in the end. You know, once everyone's once they walk into that room and they see everyone's still gone, like the pressure never came back up and the plane's just flying indefinitely. And when she sees that little shimmer outside the window, you think it's like ghostly, but then we find out it's like a fighter jet that's flown up next to the plane and seen inside and been like, oh shit, everyone's dead inside. Which is just creepy to me. Just a creepy thought of like a plane just flying around out there with everybody on board dead. That's just a fucking, like, until it just runs out of gas and just comes plummeting down. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying to think of, for so many reasons. But yeah, so and then Scout. I think Scout's character is really cool because, as I said, they usually would go to the "oh my god, I don't want to die," but she fully just like sees that the ghost is herself, and she just, and that's a very what the fuck kind of moment, and it makes sense later. But she just kind of gives her a hug and embraces and takes in her death, and we don't see her again because she just passed on. I think that's wonderful. I love that shit. I think it's beautiful. Like, she's so ready to go. She's okay with it. She sees it, she embraces it, she accepts it, and she just gives herself a little hug. Like, you can take me. I'm ready to go. Because they talk about this, soul carrier or whatever his name is, that's going to come and take him. And he presents himself as herself that's coming after her, and she's just very open to it. Like, oh, this is my end? Okay, I'm okay with that. And just goes off with him. I think it's beautiful. I really do. So, and then the conclusion of this with how everyone kind of, every character kind of takes it different when they realize that they've been dead this whole time. Some are just kind of relieved or just kind of accept it. Others are like, what the fuck, and then the couple just kind of hugs each other and accepts it. And, this is at least a release from the pain that they feel from the kids that they lost. This is a really cool, thought-provoking ending, and the way that the characters handle it and all that. I just really like that. I like the character development. I like the ending. I like all that stuff. I just don't like the horror, and that's a fucking shame. Because if you threw really solid horror in here, just make the scares better, make the build up to it better, make, fill in these spots where you start to question what you're seeing, and give little clues to what's going on there, but not so much that it's obvious, which they kind of do. They just don't, in my opinion, just don't execute it properly. It's just very poorly done in that respect, which is a shame. And that might be a language issue. I don't know if the director speaks fluent English. I know a lot of times when foreign directors come over to America and work with American actors, that's when they kind of make less than stellar films, and they'd only made stellar films before. There's kind of like a language barrier and a cultural barrier where they can't see the performances, or something is wrong. Something's off. But anyway, so there you go, Peter. I think I mentioned everything I want to say. I keep remembering not to. Oh man, the wife, his brand new wife, tries to give that guy shit for saving a guy's life. Whew. But then he grabs her and kisses her, which is kind of fucked up, man, because she's worried that you're diseased now, which I completely understand on her behalf. But like at that point, he's like, fuck it, I want to kill you anyway. So, interesting. Like, I don't know what to make of that, but what a bitch, man. If I came over and she was just giving me shit for trying to save a guy's life, I'd be like, annulment right now. And man, seeing the video of their plane on the news in there, I don't know how they're really getting the TV reception, this and that. Maybe maybe that's just it's being broadcast from the other side, like, hey, motherfuckers, you're dead. It's time to move on. Look at the news. But that would just be absolutely terrifying. And I also think that this movie might be better if it was foreign. Like, a lot of people seem to just praise foreign films that are okay, and then really good American movies they seem to shit on. That happens all the time. So maybe if this was like a Japanese film, people would be blowing it right and left. And then if they made it exactly the same and they made it this movie in American, everyone would be like, oh, what a shitty American fucking try at this movie. It's just, I don't know, foreign movies always seem to be gold to people, despite what quality they are, for the most part. There's some that are shit on because they're just not good. But like decent movies, decent foreign movies, a lot seem to get these high praise, and I watch them and I'm like, I thought it was alright, but masterpiece? Come on now. Just because it's foreign? I don't know. Anyways, so Peter, hope that was good.